So I look at the song Old Church Basement. Okay.
One of your favorite songs.
It is Maverick City Elevation. And I relate that song as a new take on like older hymns. And I think that could come back around. I mean, if you look at if you look in the movie industry right now, that I've read things of where like basically no studio wants to make original movies right now. They're just, what sequels can we make? What 2 or 3 or 4, like just rehashing old content. And with worship music in particular, I think that you can go back and you can look at hymns. Like I think of but hymns is also like, even, is it Cody Carnes or Brandon Lake that put the line from Better Is One Day into one of their songs? You know what I'm talking about? It's on Elevation, right?
Yeah.
It was Brandon Lake then.
Him or Chris Brown. But one of the songs that came into there,
like they took the line from Better Is One Day and put it into the song.
But I feel like that's what I think Maverick City actually started. When you listen to their first, with just Dante and or I don't even know if Dante was on a ton of that album. Like it was all very stripped down, but they're just bringing older hymns because all that stuff is open source. Like you can use it into the context of their melodies or their songs now.
I think you also have to look at the church world as a whole, because we talked about it with Jason on the episode of like the seeker friendly movement, right? And that was where like everything was done to a T. Like this song is 3 minutes and 13 seconds long, and it cannot go longer than 3 minutes and 13 seconds, right?
The track will stop.
Right. And you're out of service in an hour and 10 minutes max, so on and so forth, right? And then the trend right now, which Maverick City does phenomenally, is the free range flow. We don't really, I mean, what it's either More Than Able or Make a Way on their new album. The song ends and the Spotify song goes on for another 4.5 minutes.
Yeah.
And it could be a completely different song. Yeah. But that is what, so will the trend go back to not as free flowing and more, or will it continue to a 4-minute song turns into an 8-minute song and then it turns into a 16-minute song?
Yeah. But I think more than anything, you look at this is a bigger question, is what are people looking for when they go into a faith-based or a church experience? And I think that church has been for the last 10 years or so packaged so nicely for us in the effort to be more approachable, the seeker-friendly movement. And I think there's been a shift in this generation of people that are probably in their 30s now that are kind of leading this idea I don't want to say this, not necessarily looking for just the cookie cutter experience, but to be in a room where it feels like things are possible.
Yeah.
And it can go a certain way. And I think there's a balance, because I think sometimes if we just swing too far, it's we end up with 3-hour services that may be touching a couple people, but then there's inevitably other people that are going to be like, oh, I gotta go get the kids. I gotta go do a nap or whatever. But I think ultimately is I think worship music will always go to this idea of what are people hungry for? And I think right now we're seeing the spot is there's a lot more of a flow to the worship experience, because I think people are looking for, it's not just turn it on and have a dance song, but it's to be kind of taking on this journey. And for a lot of us, we're unpacking our whole week on a Sunday.
Right.
I'm not saying that's the healthiest place to be,
right,
but that might be where we're at. And so there's a progression, and we need some room and some space to kind of feel, because there's always energy in the room too.
Well, it's super interesting.
And these songs now will allow the worship leader or whoever's running service to kind of feel that energy and go there. Sorry.
No, it's super interesting, because you have to, we're talking about this worship base, but I think there's also a massive, massive change happening in churches across particularly in the U.S.